Hello, dear ducks. We are here for special talk about Cyprus, provided by our friend Özcan Çetin. Here, I welcome you to this your home.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
Cyprus is an interesting point um, because the turning point from the Middle Age to the modern era was a point from the Ottoman Empire, saying to the Western Europeans that the loss in Lepanto was temporal loss, although the possibility of entering the Western Mediterranean was over after Lepanto. The loss of Cyprus was like losing one arm of the body of Western civilization. And after that, there was the decline of the Ottoman Empire, British getting there, the situation after the First World War, the enosis with the Greeks, the war in 1974, and the aftermath. For sure, it will be on that context, but for sure it's better that you give the point about the issue.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving the brief history of the Cyprus one. Like you say, I mean, in a nutshell, we can say Cyprus is one of the most geostrategic spot on the earth, especially in the Eastern Mediterranean. I mean, it has a long story. We can go back even beyond Ottoman Empire. We can go the first years of Islam, how they conquered the Cyprus even before Islam, Byzantium Empire. So, I mean, we can talk about its geostrategic importance like forever. It's important, but the reason we are here today is talking about its recent political developments in Cyprus, especially aftermath of the regime change in Syria. Well, for those who don't know, Cyprus is a member of European Union, even though it doesn't have any soil in the European continent. But also, Cyprus is considered as Middle Eastern country as well because it's staying between Turkey, Israel, Lebanon, Syria, and Egypt. I mean, I'm not sure, but if you count, I guess Cyprus is closer to Egypt than it's closer to mainland of Greece. Yeah, many people are mixing like how come a European Union country can be that's close to Mediterranean, Middle East countries, but this is how it is. So aftermath, actually, we can go a little bit earlier before the things happen in Syria. I mean, the regime change. Something we notice in Cyprus is there is an anti-Turkish movement in the island. Well, maybe it's not fair to say there is only one, but a couple of anti-Turkish social movements happening right now in the Cyprus. Even before that, many strategists, many geostrategists and political science and even the party leaders were pointing out importance of Cyprus. A couple of years ago, I mean, you can estimate what's going to happen if from the arm deals. A couple of years ago, the USA lifted its arm embargo to Cyprus, so Cyprus is now freely can purchase weapons from the Western countries. Uh, it's not doomed to buy Russian weapons anymore. And beside that, Cyprus is invited to NATO military drills with Greece. Of course, the diplomatic assistance of the Greece with diplomatic assistance of Greece. And then this anti-Turkish, anti-occupation, this is how they call anti-occupation movements are taking place in Cyprus right now. So Yeah, due to its geostrategic importance, you cannot get Cyprus a distance from what's happening in Syria and Israel right now. Especially 2 years ago when Hamas attacked Israel, uh, we heard about Cyprus a lot. Once Israel started military operation against Hamas, of course, it gets support from the U.S. and its allies, the Western allies like UK, which has a military base in Cyprus. Uh, and then after 2 years, we know that Hamas is not as strong as compared to 2 years ago, and Israel is victorious even though it's not 100%, but it's fair to say that 90% Israel is the victorious in the battle. And then what's happened in Lebanon with Hezbollah, and then what's happened in Syria, and then perhaps what's going to happen on the Turkish border, Syrian on the Turkish border. Uh, yeah, Cyprus is one of the first destinations for Israeli students. Pardon. If our followers remember that when Iran and Israel were exchanging the fire between each other, many Israelis left their country for Cyprus. Of course, it's not for the vacation only, because it's to take a shelter. It's one of the safest places for Israelis. I mean, if you imagine the Middle East map in your mind, you will notice that for Israelis, there are not many countries, there are not neighboring countries, safe countries to get shelter. Cyprus is one of the rare of them, and one of the closest one. So these are the most strategic importance of Cyprus we can list in a nutshell. And of course, later on, we should talk about the anti-Turkish, anti-occupation moments in Cyprus.
This is interesting because in the vision on the audiovisual products, we can see Exodus, the film in which Paul Newman as a star, that enters in Cyprus, some like a sheikh tells the audience, because that idea before 1948 there were British on Cyprus, and on the land would be Israel in certain future. That some like sheikh says to the audience, the British are the best of the conquerors, good people, good with institutions, but in order of the peoples, why having a master? Why having one people ahead about us? That idea of independence, of self-government, of self-determination. In 2004, there was the Annan Plan, just on the idea, just beside the entering of European Union, one by one, equal, north and south. The north voted yes, but the south voted no. That idea was horrible, because it was giving much more power, in their opinion, to the northern side and to the southern side. And it's curious, because the entering of Cyprus in the European Union is some like a fiction. A fiction. Why a fiction? Because the land that enters the European Union is the whole island. Not with the separation inside, and the idea that all the people had the right of being member of the European Union, but in the north they cannot, because a de facto regime. And for sure, it's interesting what you will be saying, that the idea of the regime started on already 51 years with the ending of that war in 74, has been replaced by a colonization, by the continental Erdogan country by a pro-Turkish government inside the island in the north, and replaced by more Turkish continental government, with one point, that is the resources discovered in the Mediterranean Sea and the rights of the seaside, the countryside within the sea, and that for many sides in the world excites the will of the nations and the countries of controlling for drilling those resources to get power.
Like you point out, Juan, many people will think the thing started in Cyprus 20 years ago when the Turkish president, the current president, came power. But actually, it goes back. And surprisingly, many of our followers will be very surprised, but the current Turkish president was one of the most positive politicians to solve issue of Cyprus. Many people will remember the plan of Annan, the Kofi Annan plan, the UN Secretary General then. He proposed a two-state proposal or one-state proposal. I'm not sure. I need to check. But he proposed a solution plan, and Turkey was quite warm to this plan actually, and they were okay to accept this plan. Contrary, the southern part, the Cyprus, the legal government in Cyprus and Greece were not very big fan of this plan. Well, I mean, when I say Turkey was very friendly to this plan, it's not because I'm defending or I'm defending Turkish policy in Cyprus. Turkey, as a government, was okay with this plan because then Turkey was a target. The target was being member of European Union, and if Northern Cyprus, the Turkish Cyprus, we call Northern Cyprus, was member of European Union, then Turkey will be stronger in the European Parliament and the European Union. I wouldn't say Turkey could be fully member of the European Union, but Turkey could have more power than today. So of course that's the main reason to support Annan plan, Kofi Annan plan. And coming back, I tried to share a map. I couldn't actually, if you can assist me. When we talk about Cyprus, Cyprus is, for most of people, is a touristic destination. Like sands, the beach, sun. But actually, there are more beyond these things. The recent studies are showing that there are a lot of fossil sources, energy sources around the Cyprus. That's one of the main conflict between Turkish and the Greek part of Cyprus. Actually, between Turkey and the Greece, you can also say. Can I share the screen? Or can I share? Or maybe I can send to you the picture and you can share the report.
A map. We try going there.
Yeah, let me. I just sent it to you on WhatsApp. Yeah, while you are checking, I can continue. So one of the main conflict between Turkey and Cyprus is energy sources, fuel sources. I mean, in the northern part of Cyprus, yeah. Oh, no. Can you share the picture I sent to you on WhatsApp? That will be great because it's also show the, the sources and areas.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like I say, the northern part of Cyprus is not officially recognized country. I mean, Turkey is the only country on the earth recognizing Northern Cyprus as an independent country. So officially, Cyprus is one country, and the northern part is occupied by Turkey. This is official and the international accepted thesis. So naturally and normally the Cyprus government in Turkey we say in southern Cyprus, but generally we will mention Cyprus government of Cyprus. Naturally doesn't accept that northern part is an independent country, and of course when they share the energy sources and the income, they will share as a one country, not two countries. So that's the main conflict. And sorry. Yeah. And if you remember, and our follower remember that there was, yeah, exactly. I mean the footage is in Turkish, but it will be easy to understand. So when you see the TPAO, that's the Turkish company researching the fuels, researching the gas and petroleum over there. So the red part is that. The red part, if you notice that the region A, B, C, D, and E are the closest part to Turkish mainland. The distance between Turkey and Cyprus is very slim, very close. So when you go back, when you come back in the down, you are seeing a lot of new regions, white regions, researching by the Cyprus, the southern Cyprus, the official Cyprus. And when you see the white and red areas, regions, these are the conflict regions. The southern part and northern part of the Cyprus are conflicting over this, which means 8, 9, 2, 3, and 13th region. These are the main source of the conflict. I mean, of course, the government of Cyprus is not accepting the red regions, red areas, because still government of Cyprus doesn't recognize the northern part of the island as an independent country. But to ease the things, to have a diplomatic channel, they are not. They are more friendly. They are more negotiable regarding this red part, which is A, B, C, D, and D and E. But the other parts, Turkey demands this part as well should be controlled by the Turkey. I mean, you can understand the northern part because it's very close to Turkey when you check the map. But when you come down, it's southern part. The southern part is close to southern Cyprus, which is the legal government in the Cyprus. But Turkey is demanding control over here, which is, I would call, very maximalist. And of course, the Cyprus government of Cyprus doesn't accept that. And there's other conflict that these areas, which is 8, I'm just repeating for our followers, 8, 9, 2, 3, and 13, are very close to Israel. And if you go down the bottom of the map, you will see, even it's Turkish, you will understand it's a region of Israel, Gaz resource region of Israel. It's pretty close there. And that Turkey's maximalist demands get Cyprus government and Israel together, like they're coming together, they are cooperating together. I mean, geopolitically and logically, that's one of the biggest mistakes of Turkey. Pushing two enemies of yourself, work together is one of the biggest and gravest mistakes you can do in the geopolitics. So this is what Turkey is doing. Besides this petroleum conflict, constantly we are hearing that Israel, Greece, and Cyprus,
if you go
thank you so much.
there,
Cyprus are cooperating.
We can see the proximity. Cyprus,
that's great.
Here is Latakia, Tartus, Beirut, Lebanon, and here we have Israel.
And we see. So that's the previous map, and this map is very helpful to understand the geostrategic importance of Cyprus. I mean, this map is not even quite new one. This is like from 4 years ago, but it remains as this. I mean, mostly it is the same map we are having right now. And if you come back to the previous one, your map, we can jump in another topic, which is related to Syria.
It's Google Maps.
Exactly. I mean, our followers who are interested in Middle East affairs will remember they for sure followed up what's happened in Syria, after regime change. If they also should be familiar with the words Tartus and Latakia. These are where the Russian air base were located during the regime time. Even, I mean, physically the air base are still there, even Navy base are still there, but they are not functional compared to 6 months ago, of course. And this area, the western part of Syria, which is closest point to Cyprus, are also populated with the minorities, which we call Alevites, and they were subject of massacres by the new regime of Syria, the jihadist regime. So that's another importance of Cyprus, because we heard that when the new regime of Syria attacked this region to commit an ethnic cleansing, we heard about new organization, new military organization, militia, consisting by the Alevi youth. And we also heard on the social media and open source intelligence, we heard that someone from Cyprus were helping them to fight against the current, the new regime of Syria. And why does it matter? Because the new regime of Syria is backed by Turkey, and people of this region, the Alevite regime, are not backed by Turkey. I mean, it will be overstatement to call them enemy of Turkey, but they are not friend of Turkey for sure. And if you remember, the previous regime of Syria was based on this region. I mean, the family of Assad is from this region. They're also ethnic Alevis, and people of this area were facing more privilege during Assad regime. So when the regime changed, they were encountering danger of ethnic cleansing, which happened a couple of months ago. So that's another importance of Cyprus. And again, if you go back to Israel-Hamas conflict, you see how close is Cyprus to Israel and Lebanon. Many people left their countries for Cyprus, and Cyprus again, soil of European Union. So this how affected something happening in Middle East is affecting to European Union very rapidly, and Cyprus is the first front line between Middle East and the Europe.
And now the outside United Kingdom, because the sovereign bases on Cyprus land used for providing geopolitical projection for London.
Yeah, I guess I already said there is minimum one English military base in Cyprus. It's one of the biggest one, actually. I mean, when you look at the island of Cyprus, it's like one of the most unique geostrategic geolocation. It's in the middle of the Eastern Mediterranean. It's close to many countries, many conflict zones like Turkey, Lebanon, Syria, Israel, Egypt, and it's member of European Union. I mean, not many things can have that much geopolitical importance. And yeah, the US and the UK, and of course Turkey, and I'm not sure about Greece, but perhaps they also have, and France have military base in the island, because the island is a natural, I mean, when you have a military base in the island, you don't need you don't need ships, because you are close to everywhere. You are close to almost all the conflict zones, and it's middle of the Mediterranean Sea, Eastern Mediterranean. So that's why it's important.
Of course, there is a discontinuous line, because it is not an accepted border, because there is no recognition, as you said, about the northern side for someone occupied from the war 51 years ago, for others liberated, and the terminus are very important for the basis of the any talk.
I mean, it's fair. I mean, people who are not living in Turkey are easy to call what's happened in Cyprus as occupation. But in Turkey, it's officially called Operation for Peace. For those who don't know, Turkish military invasion Cyprus is officially titled as Operation for Peace, like how Russia is calling its military operation in Ukraine, like special military operation. So Turkey is somehow talented to call this kind of military operation with creative names. And since we explained the geostrategic importance of the island, maybe we should a little bit talk about what's brewing, what's happening inside of the island. Like you may notice that even in the previous map and this map, you may notice there is a line, there is a border between north and the southern part. Southern part, Turkey called, yeah, that's better. The yellow part is occupied by Turkey. I mean, it's called Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus. Officially, this is how it's called in Turkey. And the south part, the green part, is called again in Turkey called Southern Cyprus Administration. These words are abbreviation of these names. So, even though this map is not officially recognized in the world, it's not officially recognized by the United Nations, it's by neither European Union or any other organization. It's only Turkey accepting that map. But yeah, that's the de facto map. I mean, if you see a map from Cyprus, perhaps you will see a united island without border, without colors. It is the official one, which we call in international relations de jure. But that one is de facto, which means unofficial, but the real. Well, it's not fair to call it real, but this is how it looks like.
It's true that any person can go only to the flag of Cyprus, and on the white that is behind, you see the map of the whole island on the so-called on that idea the Southern Administration, and that Southern Administration, part of the European Union, has the whole island as their goal or their identity, that it's confronted with reality, that de facto is not ruling the whole island.
That's also true, actually. That's also true. I mean, this de facto station statu quo has faded by the time. If you go to northern Cyprus, and if your passport allows you, you can enter the southern part of Cyprus, the Greek administration.
I think that in Nicosia, that it's exemplified by the airport that is frozen in 1974, the international airport. It looks like a zombie retro movie can be made there, but in the center that is divided, there is no possibility of getting those zones because it has been delayed for the property and getting in the future the idea of who is the correct and I think it also happens or happened, I don't know if it's real now or in Famagusta, and it got ruined because until it was cleared the idea of who is the property and some like that got not only a de facto border instead or are ruined like it was a modern Roman Empire ruins, but making some like a border between the two zones. If I am wrong,
it could be. Well, I have friends from the both part of Cyprus, and the first time I heard from them the fact that they can visit each other, I was quite surprised, because in my mind, I thought the border is very like protected, very tough by the Turkish soldiers. You cannot go and come back from the borders. But one of my friends who lives in the southern part of Cyprus told me that Actually, it's not like that. I mean, the island is very small, anyways, and in the morning, she and her family can go to northern part, buy something, like make some shopping, and then come back to their home, which is on the south. Which is very like it may remind you the European Union, like from Belgium border you can go to Netherlands and then come back. Well, Cyprus is not to be compared with the European Union, of course, but still, the island has kept its unity somehow, because the people, the Turkish ethnic group, Turkish community in the northern part, also consider themselves as Cypriotic, and the south, the Greece ethnicities, Greece communities are as well consider themselves as Cypriotic. There's maybe we cannot call it a national identity, but it's an identity, somehow an identity, being Cypriotic. Whether you are Turkish or Greece or whatever you are living in the island, you are a member of the community of island, and you call yourself Cypriotic.
Some like in Israel,
Yeah.
you can be Druze, you can be Arab, you can be Jew, but all the nationality is the member of the citizen of Israel.
Yeah.
The idea could be over there. You are Cyprus, but you can be Greek Cyprus, Turkish Cyprus, but the idea of common Cyprus identity.
Common identity, yeah. Well, there is another point we should talk about, which is not everyone in the island, even in the northern part, are happy about Turkish presence, Turkish military presence. Like I said recently, right after what happened in Syria and what happened in Middle East a couple of years ago, we heard a lot about opposition and objection against Turkish presence in the northern part. When I check my notes, I noticed that one of the biggest opposition to Turkish presence, Turkish military, and Turkish occupation in the northern Cyprus is a communist party, a left-wing party based in northern Cyprus. I mean, Turkish part of Cyprus. They're literally defending, working for the secular Cyprus, and they're constantly expressing their unhappiness about anti-secular applications in the island. One of them is girl students, like young girl students, minor girl students, enter the school with the hijab, with the scarf. That was one of the main one of the biggest reasons for the northern Cyprus, Turkish Cypriots to protest. And surprisingly, when they protest the Turkey, they are using the flag and banners of Atatürk, who is founder of the Republic of Turkey. And when they criticize Turkey's presence in northern Cyprus, ironically, they are defending Atatürk and Atatürk's ideology. What's that? Oh no, sorry, some interruptions. So that is one of the most interesting points I noticed, or I have to highlight. So there is a group in Turkish part of Cyprus. They are criticizing Turkey. They are not happy about Turkish military and Turkish politicians in the island, but also they are defending Turkey's founder, Turkey's secular policies, Atatürk, for example. They are defending his ideology, and they are defending to not giving right to minor girl children to enter the school with the scarf, which reminds to many people in Turkey 90s in Turkey, even beginning of 2000s. The girls were not allowed to enter university, primary school, and high school with a headscarf, and it was strictly banned to use any religious object, any religious jewelry on your body, any accessory on your body, and anything referring to religion, any religion actually, but mostly Islam, of course. Anything referring to Islam, anything referring to religion was strictly banned in Turkey. Of course, the things changed after 2000, which is which can be a topic of another video, another conversation. But what's happening in Cyprus right now is very, very similar to what happened in Turkey during 90s.
It's interesting points in plural because the secular religious view, it may be a point. Supposedly, the Republic of Turkey is Turkey. Sorry, is the Ataturk looked a secular idea, but in the new Neo-Ottoman Turkey is a religious view. But in the beginning of the Erdogan reign in the country, it was looked like it's like the country of Angela Merkel. There is Christian democratic, here it's Islam democratic, not including pure religious view. On the other side is the idea of the counterpoint of communist in the northern side, because the communist on the southern side had presidents, had power. Yep. It's curious because in the European Union communists are residual, they are not important, nor not main point of politics. We can see it in European Parliament. They are not the main political parties that are the Popular Party, Social Democratic Party, and the Liberals are the three main political families that rule the Parliament, rule the European Commission. But in Cyprus, it may be that idea. Maybe puntualizing the psychology, the idea of who is the big father, not the eternal big father, the eternal big father of the protection of communities. Because the idea of enosis for the Turkish was they will have all the power and we will be out in an inner exile or an external exile, and there will be getting out, and the enosis all the rule for the Greeks. And in that psychological and inner point of every person that can be fears, can be in that point of uncertain, they looked Turkey as that big father that can come and protect us, and the presence of Turkey in the island will be the guarantee of being safe. But maybe in any point it can be with talk, with the idea of the other, and not so bad in the main. The bad people are in any community in all the world, but the majority, if don't want any genocide, any ethnic clearance of the other community, it can dismantle barriers in the communication north-south, and in that idea it may be the point that the Turkish presence not necessary, and some point of view, and on the idea, and for sure you can tell much more. They have nominally elections, they have nominally self-rule in the north, not a direct rule from Ankara, and this is a class point about from some kind of home rule to a direct rule from Ankara, on the idea of this power, the oil, and that idea of not having people in the process, having that power direct with full control.
You know, Juan, I mean, like many places in the world, if Cyprus was not that geopolitically important, perhaps they would be more happy. You know, I mean, only because they are they are strategically, geopolitically very important, located in very important place, and they're in the middle of almost all the conflict in the region. They are unhappy and they are occupied. I mean, I'm not talking only about Turkish occupation. I'm talking about many occupation during the history, from Phoenicians, from like Greeks, Roman, Arab, UK, English, Turkish, Greece. I mean, Cyprus has been subject of many occupation and many conflicts in the era. But one thing for sure, people will be more happy if no one occupied them. And I share some two pictures with you. If you can share them on the screen, I little bit want to talk about what's going on in the northern part, especially. I mean, we already explained the protest about the hairscarf, children who are wearing Islamic hairscarf are not allowed to enter the school. I mean, they're allowed, but some people are protesting against that. Yeah, exactly. So this banner, it's in Turkish. I'm gonna translate for you. This banner is from one of these protests I just mentioned. At least one of the group that protesting against the hairscarf. And on the banner it says, Turkish occupying Cyprus and go away from Cyprus. Not perfect translation, but I mean that's the meaning. And it's written in Turkish, not in Greek, not in English. So the person who is protesting Turkey is a Turkish Cypriotic. She is not Greek, she is not English, she is not from any other nationality. She is Cypriotic, Turkish. I mean, you know, we believe that, many people will believe that Turkish Cypriots are very happy about Turkish presence there. That is true. I mean, there are some people who are very happy about Turkish military existence, Turkish military base in Cyprus. They are the nationalist communities in northern Cyprus. But we cannot. It will be very overstatement to tell that all people in the northern Turkish part of Cyprus are very happy about Turkish presence. I mean, they have legit reasons, you know. Look at the protesters. They're young people. They're perhaps below their 30s, and they have a passport who's not recognized by the world. Only Turkey recognizing their passport and independence, and most of the Turkish Cypriots are holding Turkish passport, which is not the best passport you can have. And imagine if these people were part of United Cyprus, they will be member of, you know, like citizens of European Union. It's more privilege for them. They will have more opportunities, more freedom, more more prestige, I could say.
Schengen, I mean, the four liberties common in the Union, sharing the products and economy through the whole. There is very possibilities, and on the other hand, the Turkish economy is not in the best of the world. Their index are complicated, and some kind we can compare with Vaca Muerta, the oil and gas field in Argentina, that was the wishful thinking of a better economy for not only now with Javier Milei, and also in the past Macri, Kirchner, all thought that Vaca Muerta and their possibilities would give a surplus to the economy and the budget of the country. Maybe the idea is having that direct rule of what is expressed here, for getting a better economy and a better balance in budget for Turkey, but that can be in oppose for local population and their wills.
Yeah, you have a point, but you know, in my humble opinion, okay, it was me who gave example from being European Union citizen and having privilege of being European. I mean, it was my idea, it was my words, I know, but actually, the things happening in the northern Cyprus is beyond economy. I mean, yeah, we can say that once Turkey has this Turkish part of Cyprus has all of this gas and petroleum and the the oil sources, it will be richer, way richer than today, and it will be stronger, and the economic facilities will be better, even way better than Turkey or better than the southern part of Cyprus or Europe. But the point is something beyond that. I mean, we talk about history of Cyprus. Cyprus has never been, except the Ottoman time, has never been part of Turkey. And even it was part of Turkey once, like a couple of centuries ago.
So it's different than when in that time we are talking about 1974, the war that created that de facto border. In that time, with the oil crisis, with the Yom Kippur War and aftermath in the Northern Sea, within United Kingdom, Norway, there were oil that wasn't able to be get because the prices, but with the oil crisis, what's possible to put there, and United Kingdom from 1707 was with the part of Scotland with the Union. They tried an adventure in Darien, in now Panama, and they lost. So they had a complete disaster in economy, and they were needed for the help of English. And with that union in 1974, for 18 refugees, when you refine the oil for having gasoline and those products, for those 18 that are locked to the oil in that sea, 17 are in England. The only one is in Scotland. You see, you say that it's different in the case of Cyprus, because the north part of Cyprus was never united to the country known as Turkey. So if they get the possibility of this red and white stripped land, will be the ruling regime in the island that will be the supposed to develop that land and get incomes, but the one who wants the revenue is Ankara. So they will have to crash the home rule for a direct rule, occupying visibly with the flag of Turkey directly, all the people nominated for the administration, nominating the president, and all for having that control publicly, and it will be different. Clashing the people inside with the will from Ankara.
We have to, since we're talking about the island and the oil sources around the island, we have to remember how it works in the diplomacy, especially when it comes to Turkey. You know, you demand the maximum, even over the maximum. You demand like ridiculous the maximum things, but in the end you just get like lower version. But this is what you want, you know. It's like very oriental bargaining system. Like someone asks you price of one object and you tell them like very maximalist number. Actually you just need maybe 10% of the price you gave, and in the end you get 20% of the price you already said, and it's a benefit for you. So this is what's happening in Cyprus and generally in the foreign policy. And yeah, thank you so much for the picture. This one, that one is, I mean, quite interesting. It's not something we are used to see in Cyprus. Generally we know that there are some people who are not happy about Turkish presence in the northern Cyprus, but the banners, behavior, their words are so bold, and they are labeling Turkey as occupant in Cyprus. I mean, yeah, so far many people criticize Turkey, but in a more simulated way. They never call Turkey a occupant. So in the banners and this group, which maybe I better not to mention name, I mean, people can read on the screen. These people are officially, openly, and publicly calling Turkey an occupant, which is very bold, again, I will say. And we were talking about the national identity of Cyprus. Yeah, something is beyond economy and beyond oil sources. So northern part of Cyprus could be richer than southern Cyprus, richer than Turkey, richer than the European Union. But like we point out, since 200 years ago, 2 centuries, Cyprus has never been part of Turkey. I mean, it was part of Ottoman, of course, but the connection between Cyprus and mainland of Turkey, mainland Ottoman, was very loose. Was not very strong. I mean, there are some factors because Ottoman Navy, Ottoman army was very land-oriented, and the navy was not very strong. And in that time, there were more strategic places since almost all the coast of the Eastern Mediterranean was under control of Ottoman. Cyprus was not that strategic for the Ottoman Empire. So this is why, like approximately 200 years ago, they exchanged. They sold Cyprus, northern Cyprus, to the UK, the Britain. So since then, I mean, there were Turkish Cypriots living in the island, but to say that Cyprus was part of Turkey will be overstatement, will be unrealistic actually. So what I mean is that even they can be the richest country in the world, richest country in the region, they still have this identity of being Cypriotic rather than being part of Turkey. They are Turkish ethnically, but they never felt or they never feel that being part of Turkey. Maybe that's the reason that Turkey is aware of that. This is the reason Turkey never annexed northern part of Cyprus. Of course, they control, of course, physically de facto they control their Turkish military bases. They influence the Turkish Cypriot politicians, but they never annexed northern part of Cyprus. I mean, even Russia annexed some part of Ukraine because there were some Russian-speaking part of Ukraine. But in Cyprus and Turkey, it cannot even be a case. Only because they speak Turkish, only because they are ethnically Turkish, doesn't mean that they're part of Turkey. So I assume, my prediction in Cyprus, more Turkish economy is getting weaker and more conflicts around Cyprus, which means Middle East, brewing in Syria, Israel, Lebanon, and partially Israel and Egypt, partially we can get that. Importance of Cyprus will be increased in coming days. Like I say, Cyprus is the first front line of the European Union, of the Western world, encountering what's happening in Middle East conflicts. If something happening in like flight exchange between Iran and Israel, Israeli citizens' first destination to escape from their country is Cyprus. If something happening in the western coast of Syria, like military conflict between ethnic groups and the government, all the eyes on the Cyprus. If something happening in southern Turkey with Greece, like researching oil sources, Cyprus again in the focal point. So we will hear about Cyprus a lot in the future, in the coming days, and we have to also put our eyes on Cyprus arms deals. In the beginning of our conversation, I said that Cyprus, unlike a couple of years ago, now allowed to purchase weapons from the Western countries because there was an embargo on Cyprus government, which is southern Cyprus, to purchase weapons from another country. Russia was only weapon supplier to Cyprus, but now Cyprus has more opportunity. They can buy arms from the US, they can buy arms from the European partners, which is not good, not the best news for Turkey. That will escalate the tension, perhaps because Turkey is still the strongest navy, strongest air forces, and strongest army in the region. If Cyprus challenged to this power, uh, we can we can expect the tension will increase in coming days. Well, coming weeks, months. It's hard to estimate, but coming periods, let's say.
It's interesting because I reminded three ideas I will try to resume, because some like for many people, geopolitics and history and international relations may be easier if they are a frozen image, and they get the image and that's forever. Now, the idea is like a rolling stone. It evolves, let's go with the pass of time, for example, in some kind of the Spanish Empire, Florida with the Everglades, the mosquitoes, was awful. Who would like of having those lands, having Santiago, Havana in Cuba, in the other side of. Also, Florida was sold, but having the past of time, now on these days, who has Florida has a good point in geopolitics. So what is in the past one thing, on the other time of period is different, and the importance of that land. And in 1950 there was the beginning of the conquest from the North Korea to South Korea. On that time, the industrial land was north. North was the powerful economic land, and the south was rural agriculture, was cowboy people with animals, and but now we can see that no industry on the north, and the south is the power in the peninsula of Korea. So if you get the image on what point and you go to bed and dream, you can get 50 years later a complete surprise, because a complete disaster in a regime in politics on north can be awful for the people living there, and destroying the possibilities on getting incomes, getting wills, getting possibilities, getting a good life in the end. And the difficulty on the border, you said it's possible going north-south on the same day, but we saw it on Ireland. On Ireland, the border that was the idea of unity in the Good Friday Agreement, that will be no border physically, but with Brexit, there was needed a border, because it was an outland border of the European Union, and the entering of any, I will say, 1 million of bikes from China getting Belfast. If they go down to Dublin, they will be inside the European Union, and on the liberties in the European Union they would be able to go any part, but the possibility of having that free, like a parade, will be against the policies that having a common tariff for the products outside the European Union. If that bikes will be go by Famagusta, it will be said the same. So it will be necessary a de facto border control by the European Union. That it's one of that idea of difficulties. So in those three examples, we can see that the complexity of all the parts of looking and actualize report of Cyprus for being not in other country, in other land, and that I think Shakespeare was the teller of the future is an undiscovered country. And maybe
Yeah.
we can see it on the past. On the other times, I like undiscovered countries that we can try to explain, but with knowledge.
Yeah. I since we talk about Eastern Asia, if I compare Cyprus, I will compare with Taiwan issue. It's like there are a lot of similarities between Taiwan and Cyprus. Both are islands, both are strategic, both are uh, hosting military. Let me avoid some words.
You said
Both are hosting some military bases of some countries, and
you
both
said
are
Thailand. Thailand.
Thailand, Taiwan. No, not Thailand.
Thailand. Thailand.
Taiwan. Yes. So there are a lot of similarities between Taiwan and Cyprus, I would say. Like I said, they're both islands, they're both strategic, they're both hosting the military bases of some countries, NATO countries. So it is very similar. Unlike Taiwan, I don't want my words to be get wrong. I'm not expecting a war in Cyprus anytime soon, because like the region already has a lot of military conflict. I'm not expecting any. Of course, it's Middle East and everything is possible, but in my opinion, the military operation and military conflict is not the first option in the Cyprus. But I'm talking about like diplomatic tension, because a couple of months ago, if I'm not mistaken, the Cyprus government talked about being member of NATO. Don't mix Cyprus with the Greece. Greece is one of the oldest member of NATO and like one of the loyal and one of the strongest army in NATO and member of European Union. Even though Cyprus is Greek, ethnically Greek, mostly like majority of Greek, and many people are mixing two countries to each other. And of course, there is an idea of enosis to merge two countries, but still, Cyprus is a different country, and Cyprus is not member of NATO. Cyprus army is compared to Greece is very small, and compared to Turkey, very small. The country is very small generally. The economy, the population, the army, and everything.
It's curious because Turkey and Greek entered NATO on the same day in the 50s.
Yeah, like very very close dates. Exactly, very close dates.
Because
And they
on
are
the
neighbors.
case of Turkey was fear, a very close fear about Soviet in
Yeah,
Stalin's Soviet empire,
yeah,
that
yeah,
in the 1946 made an some kind Donetsk and Luhansk movement, but in Iran, having an independent republic for Kurds and Azeris in the north western side, and trying for getting inside the Soviet Union. And Turkey, watching that,
yeah,
thought they can do that with us. So
yeah,
we have to be on alliance for getting back that possibility, and that's why Turkey entered NATO after the
yeah,
death of Stalin by 1 year after the membership of NATO in 1956, alongside with the secret speech by Khrushchev, the possibility of that agreement against Turkey was dismissed. There was not
yeah,
menace, but they maintain the membership because it was better having with United States and alignment with the Cold War, and that's the way
yeah.
we are.
If I'm not mistaken, Cyprus was under control of the Britain Empire during this period, like beginning of the Cold War, right after the World War II. It was under control of the Britain.
Yes,
And
it was before the independence.
yeah, before independence. And when they signed agreement of the NATO, there were some exceptions. The famous Article 5. it says any attack to any member of the NATO will be considered as attack to all the NATO members. But there are some exceptions. For example, French Algeria is an exception, and again, if I'm not mistaken, Cyprus is an exception as well. So I mean, these places are considered.
It changed in 1962 with the Evian agreements of independence on Algeria, and it was curious because 12 years later, in 1974, two NATO members were inside a war within them in Cyprus.
You know how I call it? I call it the first and only civil war in NATO. Yeah, Turkey and Greece. And Cyprus is not only problem actually between two nations. The small islets in the Aegean Sea, like the western part of Turkey and the
eastern. That's the idea of blue water policy of Ankara.
Yeah, exactly. Like Ankara is desired to expand his water border to not accepting to 12 mile, accepting.
But there are the Greek islands in Aegean.
Yeah, exactly. Like Turkey, Ankara consider Greece as a mainland. Like it's a mainland. The islands cannot have territory in the sea, and islands should be considered independent or different entities. But on the other hand, Greece is not thinking in the same way. Greece thinks these islands are part of Greece and it's part of mainland, so they also have territory in the Mediterranean Sea. So this is the biggest conflict between two nations actually, rather than Cyprus. I mean, Cyprus is one of the island issue between two nations, just one of them, but there are a lot. If you go back to the Mediterranean, northern Mediterranean. I was talking about the Taiwan. The both nations are look like Taiwan and Cyprus issue is very similar, and I'm not expecting any military conflict in the region. I just want to highlight that. But what I'm talking about, like diplomatic tension, because we just explained why Cyprus is not member of NATO. Since Cyprus is not member of NATO, is not NATO member, the only option for the Cyprus is weapon supplier is Russia. Was Russia? Well, I mean, all we know that Russian weapons are not the best nowadays in the world. The Chinese weapons are getting more popular around. But if you go back like a couple of decades ago, Russia and Soviets were the best option for Cyprus, and they purchased weapons from Russia. But since U.S. lifted the ban, weapon purchase, arm purchase embargo on Southern Cyprus, the Cyprus government, they are free to purchase weapons from the Western allies. I mean, they didn't do that so far because perhaps, I mean, they are working with Greece government very closely. Perhaps they are trying to give a try to diplomacy. But if the things get out of control, I'm kind of sure that they will seriously consider to buy weapons from the US, weapons from the other NATO members, and even from Israel, which is the most dangerous part about that Turkey should concern. I mean, in a scenario that Greece purchasing weapons from China and Israel will be very big threat for Turkey and Turkey's geopolitical importance. I mean, there is a reason for Turkey and other nations are having military base in Cyprus, right? Because of geopolitics, because of geostrategy. And it's very close to Turkey. And it's like, again, if you check the map, you will see how close island Cyprus to Turkish mainland. And Turkey is one of the most strategic part of mainland, the southern part. The nearest part to the Middle East, the nearest part to Greece, and nearest part to Cyprus. And if Turkey doesn't have a military base here, that will be a big threat for Turkey. It will be it will make defense of Turkey very lame. It will be a big hole in air defense and navy defense. I mean, basically, Turkey cannot sail in the Mediterranean without Cyprus military base. So I believe they are trying to find a way to avoid a military conflict, to avoid any escalation, any tension between two nations, actually three nations. But yeah, if diplomacy doesn't work, I'm afraid there will be we will see more tensions again, not a military conflict, but we will see more arming, like stronger armies, more arm purchase, more conflict over the oil sources, over the popularity, over the other things, other even unnecessary things.
When I listened the idea of Thailand instead of Taiwan, that was occupied the island of former Formosa by the Netherlands in the south and Spain in the north. And there are some buildings remaining there in the island of Taiwan. Thailand is now on a starting conflict with Cambodia for a temple that was on the border made by the French at the end of 19th century. But when we see that conflict with shootings this day, just now, with the excuse of that temple, and there operates on other ingredients with the regional powers merging China, Japan, Western countries, implies another geopolitic and political, historical points clashing that idea of that temple and that border conflict. So I would say there are, you can forecast any point, any idea for the audience that if it happens in certain future, it starts with any news appearing in any media, would they say, oh, that's the point when conflict can start publicly?
Yeah, you're right. I see your point. And since we talked about this, let me drop my 2 cents and one of my analysts regarding geostrategy and geopolitics of Cyprus, which is related to oil sources. Since the beginning of the conversation, we have been talking about what happened in Syria, the regime change, the Turkish-backed new regime, and the western part of Syria, western coast of Syria, the Alawite minority. If our followers will remember that a couple of months ago, like right after regime change in Syria, we heard the news that the western part, the Alawite majority province in Syria, have been handed over to Turkish governments, Turkish-backed governments. Syria officially is one united country, but we know what's happening in Syria right now. The north and east part is different administration, the western part is different story, south is another one. So western coast of Syria, administration of western coast of Syria have been handed to Turkish-backed militants. I mean, not even the new regime of Syria, but someone very close to Turkey, even closer to the regime.
It's true. It's true that before going to Moscow, Bashar al-Assad asked for support to Russia and Putin for stating new country on the Alawite side, protecting Tartus and Latakia, but having that country ruling by himself, independent from the rest of Syria.
Yeah. For sure, he demanded that. I mean, we all heard about this rumors, but it didn't happen because Russians are very weak to support such an initiative. So instead, Turkey took control of Tartus and Latakia, that is very strategic, very important, and giving positive reputation to Turkey of protector of the minorities, which I doubt. Why does it matter that Turkey handed over took control of Tartus and Latakia? Because again, if you check the map, Google Map, or maybe you can switch on your Google Map, Tartus and Latakia is just a couple of miles away, Cyprus Islands. Why does it matter? If you look at this map, you will see the region E and region F, which is very close to the western part of Syria, where we have been talking about the Alevite majority region, that again, that Turkey took control, administrative control. I'm not talking about Turkey is controlling everywhere, but officially the regime, Syrian regime, handed over governance of these regions to Turkish-backed initiatives, Turkish-backed groups. Okay, the regime in Syria is already Turkish-backed. Turkey is backing, Turkey is supporting this regime, but there are even more Turkish, pro-Turkish figures in Syria, which we call, formerly we call First Syrian Army, and then they became a National Army of Syria, and now they have other name. So these groups are controlling there. I mean, we can say these areas, these regions are almost directly controlled by Turkey. And again, why does it matter? Because it's very close to Cyprus Island, and it's very close to region F, region E. And region F, like you can see, it is white and red. It's one of the conflict region between Cyprus government and Turkey. So in a nutshell, what happened in Syria actually making Turkish hand stronger, Turkish powers, making Turkey more powerful and stronger in geopolitics wise. Does it matter? Yeah, I mean, it does matter. Turkey is stronger than before. But does that mean Cyprus government is so vulnerable, so weak? Not really, because Cyprus government has loyal friends. One of them is Israel. Again, I think we already mentioned this agreements between Greece, Cyprus, and Israel. One of the agreements between these three countries is energy sources, energy path, energy lines. Not only Cyprus has this possible oil sources, Israel is one of them. Syria, Lebanon, and Egypt are the countries that possibly benefit from this new oil wells, oil sources. And Israel is already planning to have an alternative route from Israel to Cyprus and the Greece, and then Europe, of course, which is a geopolitical threat. Turkey's geopolitical importance. So again, why does it matter to take control of western bank of Syria? Because of geopolitics, because of energy routes, because of having stronger hands and poker table of Cyprus.
So the complex puzzle of the region, it's connected, and
Yeah,
what happens in Syria that is not finished, as
yeah,
we said sometime. What doesn't end with an agreement, with a signed agreement, it can reopen any moment. So it can be destabilizing for Cyprus and not well ending on the situation in Syria. And for sure there will be that with all the many ingredients having the capability of that destabilization. For example, the idea of withdrawal of Russia from the Caspian, the influence of Turkey, of Azerbaijan, the point of the intermediates within Armenia and Azerbaijan of United States or Turkey, the corridor within the incorporated Nakhchivan and Zangezur corridor for having a terrestrial connection within Azerbaijan and Turkey, and the central corridor within the China and European contact implies Turkey, implies Syria, implies
yeah,
so
yeah. And
it's
Israel as well, yeah.
and the idea of the counterpart of the pearl collier of China, having India within Saudi Arabia and Israel getting Mediterranean and just in front of Cyprus. So that corridor implies necessary to Cyprus. So it's a region with growing importance.
Yeah, as my last word, I can add that you have point. Actually, all these things you just list are connected to each other, especially the Southern Caucasus. What we are seeing right now is very interesting. We are seeing that Azerbaijan is conflicting Russia, which was very, very interesting and surprising, I would say. It was not something we could expect, you know. So yeah, it's somehow related to Mediterranean issue and the Middle East. Um, Syria's new president, or however you call it, uh, has been hosted in Azerbaijan. Uh, Azerbaijan and Syria doesn't have borders. They don't have a border. They don't have uh, a lot of things in common. The only things common is being near to Israel. I mean, Syria has a border to Israel. Azerbaijan is one of the best ally of Israel. So it is crystal clear that Azerbaijan is meditating between two nations, Syria and Israel, for possible peace process, possible new agreements. And of course, Azerbaijan is one of the closest country to Turkey as well. And Azerbaijan is playing key role between three governments, Turkey, Syria, and Israel, to get them around the round table and solve the problems. So far, I don't know how it works. I don't see any outcome, but perhaps we will see soon. But yeah, like you say, the things are very connected, and Cyprus is somehow taking a portion from this all these conflicts in the region, Mediterranean and the Middle East as well.
I think this talk has the idea of getting the people paying attention for the movements in Cyprus and in the region, because it is the possibility of clashes and political and more scenarios with that possibility of getting worse. So it's important of saying for the people. So if you want to, I would say not a definitive, because it's a paying attention talk. So a provisional ending of this conversation.
Well, I will say my last word, but let me add something more regarding Cyprus purely. Uh, like I say, Cyprus is in the middle of many conflicts, and it's one of the closest points in the Middle East conflicts and the border of the European Union to Mediterranean and Turkey and Middle East. So I personally expect that we will hear name of Cyprus a lot in coming period, positively or negatively. Uh, when Iran and we are also expecting a second war between Iran and Israel. Unfortunately, if that will happen, if that happens, more Israelis are expected to leave their countries for Cyprus. The closest point they can travel, the closest point they can take shelter. And on the other hand, more Turkish economies facing troubles, facing more problems, and more military challenges are encountering Turkey in the Middle East. Turkey possibly will be more aggressive towards Cyprus. I mean, we are not hearing a lot, but last week there were talks in London between two Cyprus, northern and southern Cyprus, Turkey and Greece. About Greece, I'm not sure actually, but Cyprus and Turkey for sure. They were talking to solve their problems. Yeah, we will hear. I'm predicting that we will hear name of Cyprus a lot in coming period, but it also depends how the diplomatic talks going on. It could be surprisingly very positive, and we will be safe from the military conflict. But if not, if the diplomatic talks, if diplomatic relations are getting worse, sadly we may hear more arm race, more conflicts, and more tension in the region.
There are talks of perspective, or with the idea of having something with substance.
Well, I prefer to call it diplomatic, but I know what you mean. I prefer to call it diplomatic talks. Like it's ongoing talk. Actually, they are periodically talk about issues to solve their issues. Well, hopefully there will be a solution anytime soon. Both Greek and Turkish Cypriots will be happy, and there will be a solution that will be satisfy Turkey as well and Greece as well. So hopefully the talks will be ended in a positive way.
It's true that we can see the public theater with public declarations and statements that could be contradictive with backyard talks within the parts. It happens sometimes.
Yeah, that's true.
So we can put the certain end with a thankful position by my side of talking about this island and what it implies on the region.
Well, that's gonna be my last words actually in this conversation. Maybe I can repeat what I already said. Yeah, the island is already geopolitically, geostrategically very important, and it's already attracting many actors. There are already military base of UK, US, Turkey, and Greece, and France as well. It's already important area. It's small island, small population, small economy, small army, but hosting big armies and big economies, big strategic goals. It's near to Middle East and almost all the conflicts in the Middle East, the major conflicts, I mean, Israel, Hamas, and Gaza, Syria, Egypt somehow, Israel, of course. And it is the eastmost point of European Union. It's where the European Union and the Middle East has borders, fiscal borders even, to Middle East, fiscal border of European Union to Middle East. On the other hand, it is historically important because this island has always changed the administration. No one of the islands completely. I can say like the current Cypriotic government is the only in the history that established a stable government in the island. And so far, the Greeks, Turks, Arabs, Muslims, and Britain, somehow French, occupied the country, but there was no stable government. So the current government of Cyprus is the most stable one in the history. But physically, it's divided. The island is physically divided, and its solution of this issue of Cyprus will also somehow, I wouldn't say it will lead solution in other parts of the country, other parts of the world, but it will inspire other conflict which has similarities between Cyprus, like Taiwan, for example. Solution in Cyprus will inspire a possible solution in Taiwan as well, or a possible solution in another part of world, or maybe even in Syria, because in Syria we have like some northern part of Syria is under control of Turkey, like not even under control of the current regime, like directly under control of Turkey. It somehow reminds me the current situation in Cyprus, de jure part of Syria, but de facto part of Turkey. So yeah, we will hear Cyprus a lot in coming periods. We will hear a lot of energy deals, arm deals, like more alliance between Greece and Cyprus and Israel. We don't hear about Cyprus a lot because because Middle East is already too busy. There are a lot of conflicts, Iran and Israel, like Syria, Hamas, Palestine. We just need time when this problems getting weaker. Perhaps we'll hear about Cyprus more than ever.
Possibly, or mainly,
Yeah,
certainly. Thank you very much for being here, and for sure we will have another talks on another scenarios, issues in certain future.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Juan. This is always a pleasure, and yeah, we will have a lot of talk because there are a lot of problems in the world.
so we will be back.